One moment, Chair. I confirm, Mr. Chairman, the live stream has now been started.
Thank you very much. Before I formally start the meeting, I can confirm this meeting has been held in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003 and the Licensing Act Hearing Regulations of 2005, which allow councils to make their own arrangements for licensing subcommittees to hear matters in connection with premises licence. I will begin introducing the subcommittee members and officers who will be present throughout the meeting. I'm the chairperson, Councillor Paul Andrews. To my left is Councillor Polly Andrews, and far left is Councillor Claire Davis. Legal advisor to the subcommittee today, to my right, is Lorna Lucas. Clerk to the subcommittee is Sarah Buffery. Technical support is Alfie Rees-Glinos. Also in the room, we have 3 officers from the Licensing Authority. That is Emma Bell, Sophie Waite, and Fred Spriggs. And we also have 1 member of public in the room as well. So, please note the following points with regard to the conduct of this meeting. The Council is video and audio streaming this meeting live on the internet and making a recording. The recording forms part of the public record for the meeting and will be available on the Council's website. Please remember what you say and do in this meeting has a global reach, and your words and actions should be chosen carefully. The chat facility has been switched off to ensure that attendees' contributions can be offered through the spoken voice and for the public record. Please ensure all mobile devices are switched to silent. If any remote attendee loses connection, the meeting will be paused to ascertain if the connection can be restored quickly. If it is not possible to recover the connection within a reasonable amount of time, the meeting will continue as long as the quorum of the subcommittee members remains able to hear the proceedings and be heard. If you plan to leave before the end of the meeting, please indicate this in advance. Are there any questions about the procedures before we continue? Thank you. I will now proceed with the formal agenda of the meeting. Apologies for absence. Now, any apologies for absence?
There are none, Chair.
No. Any name substitutions? Okay, thank you. Right, declarations of interest. Are there any Schedule 1, Schedule 2, or any other interest to be declared for the items on the agenda today?
Chairman, if I could comment, as a member of the City Council, for the second item, the bellows, where there's an objection from Close House. As a City Council, we support Close House with a financial contribution. I have nothing personally to do with Close House, but I'm just pointing out that as a City Councillor, we do support Close House with a financial subsidy.
Thank you, Councillor Polly Andrews. Okay, so can I quickly just ask if the door could be shut, please? Sorry about that. Right. We now move to the first substantive item on the agenda. Could I ask the technical support officer to move remote attendees for the Nova Olos application to the waiting room? Sorry, Alfie. Is there any remote attendees for the Nova Olos application? Yeah, sorry.
So I'll just go in order. So we start with Karina Harris, who's the legal representative of the.
We just need, sorry, we need to move.
Yeah, sorry, you didn't hear what.
Oh, Mr. Seventh.
Sorry.
Yeah. The first application. Sit through. I see Nick Semper.
Is Mr. Semper left?
Yes. Yeah, he's in the waiting room.
Right.
So yeah, just park in there, leave it there.
Okay.
Right. Item 4. Application for a variation of premises licence in respect of Marden Post Office, Marden, Hereford, HR1 3EW. Purpose. So it's obviously to consider an application for a variation of the premises licence in respect of Marden Post Office, Marden Hereford, HR1 3EW under the Licensing Act of 2003. In attendance for this application, we have in the room, on behalf of the licensing authority, Emma Bell. If any remotees, I will go to each remotee to confirm that you're able to hear me, and I will confirm in response that I can hear you. Where practical, please have your video switched on so that you can be seen by the members in attendance and the public watching. So, check. Public representations. Is there Mr. Jeremy Stevens from Marden Parish Council?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And Mr. Edward Hayward?
No, he's not in attendance.
Okay, thank you very much. And for the application, Mrs. Karina Harris, legal representation of the applicant. And then Mr. Wayne Jones. Can you confirm that you're here and you can hear me?
Yes, my name's Karina Harris and I can hear you fine.
Oh yes, this is Wayne Jones.
And you can hear and see me okay, yes?
Yes, everything's fine.
Thank you. Right. Now, order of speakers. I will now go to Emma Bowell on behalf of the licensing authority.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just say I've got my colleague Sophie Waite with me. She also represents the licensing authority, but she's here today to see how proceedings go ahead.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Sophie.
So, as the Chair rightly said, this is to consider an application for a variation for a premise licence in respect of Marden Post Office. The recommendations are the subcommittee determine the application with a view to promote the licensing objectives in the overall interest of the local community. It should give way to steps that are appropriate to promote those licensing objectives, representations including supporting information presented by all parties, the guidance issued to local authorities under section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and the Herefordshire Council Statement of Licensing Policy 2020 to 2025. And the reasons for those recommendations: it ensures compliance with the Licensing Act 2003. There are a number of options open to the subcommittee. One would be to grant the licence subject to conditions that are consistent with the operating schedule and accompanying application. Grant the licence subject to modified conditions to that of the operating schedule, so the subcommittee considers it appropriate for those promotion of the licensing objectives. To exclude from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activities from which the application relates. To refuse to specify a person on the licence as the premise licence supervisor, or to refuse the application. The application for the variation of a premise licence has received relevant representation and therefore is brought before the subcommittee today. Herefordshire Council Statement of Licensing Policy 2020-2025 states all representations must be relevant. For example, they must be about the likely effect of the grant of the application. And this is followed by paragraph 8.57 in the section 182 guidance, which uses the same wording. The applicant is Blue Star Power Limited. The agent was not applicable at the time of publishing. However, it's been informed to the licensing authority that Lanyon Bowder is representing the applicant. Date received was the 18th of November 22. The 28-day consultation started on the 19th of November 22, and the 28-day consultation ended on the 16th of December 22. The application can be found at Appendix 1 and requests the variation of a premise licence to allow the following: add consumption on the premises, to update the plan of the sale and supply of alcohol consumption on and off the premises, Monday to Saturday, 0800 to 2300, and Sunday, 10 AM until 22:30. A copy of the current licence is attached to Appendix 2, and it authorises sale of alcohol weekdays other than Christmas Day, 8 AM until 11 PM, Sundays other than Christmas Day, 8 AM till 10:30 PM, Christmas Day, 12 noon till 3, 7 PM till 10:30 PM, and on Good Friday, 8 AM till 10:30 PM. One objection has been received from one of the responsible authorities, and that is West Mercia Police, and can be found at Appendix 3. Since publishing their report, West Mercia Police have withdrawn their objection due to a subject of conditions that have been agreed between the applicant and West Mercia Police, and that is found at the supplement that was published on Friday the 13th of January. One representation has been received from one of the other responsible authorities, and that was Trading Standards, and the conditions were agreed, and that can be found at Appendix 4. 2 relevant representations have been received from members of the public that the licensing authority has accepted as being relevant and can be found at Appendix 5. The premises was first licensed in 2005 for sale of alcohol. On May the 7th, 2021, an application to transfer and vary the DPS, which is designated premise supervisor, was received and granted on the 25th of May 21. On the 10th of October 22, an application to transfer and vary DPS supervisor was received, and this was granted on the 25th of October 22. Any decision may have an impact on the local community. This report is in relation to a premise licence under the Licensing Act 2003, and as such there are minimal environmental impacts to the council as a licensing authority. There are a number of equality duties and legal implications set out in this report, which your legal advisor can advise you further on if needed. There is unlikely to be any financial implications for the council as a licensing authority at this time. There is a right of appeal under Schedule 5, Part 1 of the Licensing Act. An appeal should be made to Magistrates Court and must be made within 21 days, beginning with the day on which the appellant was notified by the licensing authority of the decision appealed against. There is little risk associated with the decision due to the 21-day appeal process. All responsible authorities and members of the public living within Herefordshire have been consulted. Appendices 1 to 5 can be found at the back of the report, and as mentioned earlier, a supplement was published on Friday the 13th of January. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emma. I now go to Mr Jeremy Stevens on behalf of Marden Parish Council. And you're in, Tom. She's still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, carry
Can
on.
you hear me? Okay?
Yeah, yes, we can, thank
Thank
you.
you very much. I'm speaking on behalf of the Parish Council of Marden. We find that although the idea of the shop improving and that sort of thing, there is less than no detail as to how this licensing will be carried out. Many of the designated areas will have to be crossed by children if they use the shop on a normal basis. This, according to some of the legislation, seems to stop the whole thing from happening, that the licensing cannot happen if that goes ahead. As I say, we don't know how it's going to work. We're interested to know how many premises, which are a shop and a post office, actually have this facility in the country, and I think it's probably quite minimal. We would also like to know whether the post office has actually been consulted as to whether there should be a bar there. Also, the shop and post office is very close to where children are who regularly use the shop, who are under the age of 16, and the implications for the selling of alcohol in the way it seems to be happening at the moment would preclude them from being able to enter the premises as they normally would. Also, it's a very rural area and their infrastructure is not very good. In fact, it's all broken. The amount of vehicles, cars and things that will actually end up in the area, the provision for parking is quite minimal. There will be more houses built across the road, which will only add to the extreme amount of cars that are going on there. Also, there is a perfectly good pub not far away down the road, which could suit the service better, and I think will be supported by the villagers as better than a shop, post office come bar. That's again, it's there's also the facilities. There is only one toilet access, an access toilet, which is diametrically across the actual plan of the main room of the building, where you'd have to go through all of the shop to actually get to it. So that would need, I would say, if you're having more people there which are drinking and or eating, you're going to need better toilet facilities, which would need it to go to planning, I would have thought, before that happens. They're also, the escape routes are very minimal and end up in locked areas, which seem to be against most things. When you have a pub or anything like this, you should have proper ways to get out. The kitchen is also, has only one in and out as well, which doesn't seem to add up very well. Also, the main entrance is an electrically operated system, which will fail if there are any problems. I also think that it's probably quite inappropriate that although you might have SI security people at the door, that's the door of a shop and post office, which older people and children are actually going to want to access. I think that's going to be very off-putting, and there's a great concern for how many people will actually be allowed to be in the outside area, especially during the summer, where the house is, the nearest house is literally next door, totally adjacent, and they deserve their rights as well of quietness. I think also that putting lots of notices around the place, people don't stay quiet, even if you ask them to. I think also that the notices that need to be there will not be read by children, and also need to be in several languages, because we're quite a multicultural village as well. I think that's all I have to say at this moment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevens. We haven't got Edward Hayward here, so I'll now go to Mrs. Karina Harris, legal representation of the application.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay?
Fine, we can hear you.
Good. I'm Karina Harris from Lanyard Solicitors, and I've been asked to represent Blue Star Power, who own Marden Post Office and Stores. Our client made the application themselves. We didn't make it on their behalf. They only appointed us for this hearing. The application, as you say, is to vary the premises license from the current off sales to on and off sales, which is to include a new cafe, which is to be located in what is currently the residential bungalow attached to the store itself. The applicant wishes to assure the parish council and the objector, who's not here, that no intention of upsetting anybody was meant in any way, shape or form. They are more than happy to speak to them regarding the plans and are willing to work with them to address their concerns. They, like everybody else in the village, want it to be a pleasant, prosperous place for the benefit of everybody living in the village and surrounding areas. The licensing hours, which is, I'm trying to address some of the objections raised. The licensing hours, they're not really changed from what is on the existing license. Whilst the store currently only opens till 6 o'clock, it is actually licensed until 11 o'clock at night, Monday to Saturday, and 10:30 on a Sunday, with these two extra things of Christmas Day and Good Friday included. But the Christmas Day and Good Friday isn't going to be included in the amended hours, but the hours remain the same besides. The reason the application has been made is the owners of the post office and store also own the public house that Mr. Stevens mentioned. The public house has now been closed for some time, having proved financially unviable in its present form, with at least 3 tenants, the last 3 tenants having gone bust in the premises. Therefore, it's even more important for the post office and stores to remain open and a valuable asset to the community. When they purchased the post office and stores, it was 60 square meters in size with a footfall of 500 per week, and was making quite a substantial loss. But considering substantial financial investment by the current owners, it's now 260 square meters in size with a footfall of 1,300 per week. which is just about break-even point. The plan is to make it viable for the long term, and that is why they are adding the cafe to the licence. This will result in an additional 12 employees to the existing 12 current employees. As stated, West Mercia Police and Trading Standard raised representation with the application as it was, and various conditions have been agreed between the applicant and those two responsible authorities to alleviate the concerns. A lot of them are regarding children, which I'm not sure if Mr. Stevens has read the conditions that have been agreed and accepted. Was that a nod, Mr. Stevens, please? Yes, you've read the conditions that have been agreed between them, which will hopefully alleviate a lot of his concerns. Some of the other queries about the exits and toilets, etc. Planning was consulted as one of the responsible authorities for this, and they haven't raised any concerns about the toilets and the exits, and neither have the fire service, who are also one of the responsible authorities, who would be concerned if they were unsatisfied with the fire escapes. Excuse me, I'll just take a drink of water. One of the other points raised as a concern was regarding the staffing of the post office, and if there was any issues in the cafe, then staff would have to leave from the post office. That isn't the case. Because of the extra staff that are going to be employed, there'll be separate staff for the cafe than for the post office and stores. So the post office and stores will not be left unattended at any time. And I appreciate that was a concern, and it's not clear from the application that that was the case. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, have you got any questions?
Yes, I have. I understand from what has been said now, and it's certainly not clear on the plans we were given, that the cafe will be in a bungalow that's adjacent to the shop. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. The actual building itself is like a post office stores, with the bungalow, which is the residential part that it was formerly lived in, and that is going to be converted to a cafe area. So that will be where the consumption of the alcohol will be taking place.
Well, I would then it would need a planning application for change of use.
I'm unsure whether that planning application has been granted and approved, but it's certainly not been raised by the planning department.
Yeah. Councillor Davis, you've got any?
No,
Nothing else?
John has said what I wanted to say.
Okay. Just, yeah.
Sorry, can I just come in? I'd just like to confirm that on the 12th of January, I sent out to all the public reps a list of conditions to see if that would appease their concerns. And I heard back off the one to say no, and I didn't hear back off the other. So just as a matter of clarity.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Quick question I have is, I think it was mentioned in your speech about talking, and what if, because obviously Mr. Jones is here as well, has there been any conversations with near neighbours? Can I just ask that, please?
There haven't been any conversations with any neighbours directly with myself. I'm not sure if they have approached the owners or not. But I understand the parish council's concern regarding the adjacent properties, but I've not seen any objections received from those properties regarding this application.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Jones.
And I can also just pick up on a point. The area that will be used as the cafe and kitchen has already received planning permission.
Okay. Thank you for confirming that, Mr. Jones. Any other questions?
Can I ask a question? Is that possible?
Lorna, can you come back in? Or...
Let him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's very,
really happened, Mr. Stevens, but carry on.
No,
Yeah.
I quite understand, and it's only one thing. I would like to know the planning reference number for the plans from Mr. Jones, please, if possible.
I don't have those to hand, but I can get those to you at a later date. That's no problem.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing else from anybody else? No? No?
Can I
Yeah,
also
okay.
clarify through you, Chairman?
Yeah, of course.
There's supposing outside seating as well, is there proposed as well? Can
Yes,
someone-
yes, there is a small amount of outside area just for if somebody wants to go and have a smoke, etc.
Right. Will that be outside the store or outside the bungalow?
Wayne, could you come in on that, please? Confirm exactly.
Yeah, we currently serve coffee anyway, and there are currently 2 tables directly outside the store, and there are 3 tables which are directed outside of the current bungalow, area.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Andrews, sorry.
Yeah, cool, of course.
Just looking at this plan, obviously from a licensing point of view, I wonder if the applicant could confirm for me and obviously the committee members that the area shaded in blue is at the bungalow. And obviously the area shaded in red is obviously labelled as the shop.
Can you confirm that, please?
That's correct.
And where it says the access with the arrow pointing up towards the blue area, is that where your outside tables are going to go?
Into the store, the 2 tables that are outside are currently to the right hand side.
Okay, so just to the right of where it says access with the arrow.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emma. No more questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Right. The subcommittee will now adjourn to discuss the application. We'll come back in. Yeah, shall we say 2:30? Shall we say, yeah?
Yes.
2:30. And so in, 17 minutes, so 2:30, we'll let you know the decision then. So for the remote attendees, I'd be grateful if you could please rejoin the meeting 5 minutes prior to the end of the adjournment in case there are any technical issues which need to be resolved. I will now ask that the license.
And we're live again, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Welcome back to the licensing subcommittee. I will now read the decision of the subcommittee. The decision is to defer the application for a site visit. This will take place on the 26th of January at 2:30. Did everybody hear that? Can you confirm?
Repeat it.
Repeat it. I will repeat again. This is going to be deferred for a site visit for the committee on the 26th of January, which is a Thursday at 2:30. That is our decision. Could I please ask for the...
We're live again, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we now move to the second item of the agenda. Can we confirm that the remote attendees are here? Yes? Yeah, thank you. Right. Next item on the agenda is application for a grant of a premises licence in respect of Novello's Pool Bar and Sports Loft, 57 Commercial Street, Hereford, HR1 2DJ, under the Licensing Act of 2003. In attendance to this application, we have in the room on behalf of the Licensing Authority, Fred Spriggs. I can confirm that it is the same attendees from the council as the last application. Right. If any excuse me, for any remote attendees, which obviously there is, I will go to each remote attendee to confirm you're able to hear me, and I will confirm in response that I can hear you. Where practical, please have your video switched on so that you can be seen by members in attendance and the public watching. So we have Mr. Ben Lee, manager of Close House, that is in attendance in the room. Obviously you can hear and see me. Thank you. And for the applicant, we have Nick Semper from the licensing guys.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon. And Mr. Danny Gagg and Mr. John Meredith are the applicants.
Yes, that's correct.
Hear and see me? Yeah, that's good. I can hear you. Hear and see you all. Thank you. Right. I will now go to Fred Spriggs on behalf of the licensing authority.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, I've got Sophie. Just for clarity, I've got Sophie Waite with me. Sophie Waite is basically training in the role, so Sophie is going to present the report to you this afternoon. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Hang on. Sorry, Sophie. Carry on.
The purpose of today's meeting is to consider an application for a grant of a premises licence in respect of Novello's Pool Bar and Sports Loft under the Licensing Act 2003. The recommendations today is that the subcommittee determine the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interest of the local community. They should give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including all supporting information that are presented by all parties, the guidance issued to local authorities under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and finally the Herefordshire Council Statement of Licensing Policy 2020 to 2025. The reasons for these recommendations are that it ensures compliance with the Licensing Act 2003. There are a number of options open to today's subcommittee. Grant the licence subject to conditions that are consistent with the operating schedule accompanying the application and the mandatory conditions set out in the Licensing Act 2003. Grant the licence subject to modified conditions to that of the operating schedule where the subcommittee considers it appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and add mandatory conditions set out in the Licensing Act 2003, to exclude from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, to refuse to specify a person in the licence as the premise supervisor, or to refuse the application. The key considerations for today: the application for the grant of a premises licence has received relevant representations and is therefore brought before the subcommittee for determination. Herefordshire Council Statement of Licensing Policy 2020 to 2025 states all representations must be relevant. For example, they must be about the likely effect of the grant of the application. This followed paragraph 8.57 in the section 182 guidance, which uses the same wording. The details of the application are: the applicants are John Meredith and Danny Gagg. The agent, since the report has been published, the licensing guys have been instructed to represent the applicants. The date the application was received was the 22nd of November 2022. The 28-day consultation started on the 23rd of November 2022, and the 28-day consultation ended on the 20th of December 2022. The summary of the application is as follows. The application, which can be found at Appendix 1, requests the grant of a premises licence to allow the following licensable activities during the hours shown as follows: live music indoors Friday and Saturday 5 p.m. until 1 a.m, recorded music indoors and the sale and supply of alcohol for consumption off the premises Monday to Wednesday 12 midday until 11:30 p.m, Thursday midday until midnight, Friday midday until 1 a.m, Saturday 10 a.m. until 1 a.m, and Sunday 10 a.m. until 11 p.m. Late night refreshment indoors, Monday to Wednesday 11 p.m. until 11:30 p.m, Thursday 11 p.m. until 12 midnight, Friday 11 p.m. until 1 a.m, Saturday 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. The non-standard timings for all licensingable activities listed above. The bank holiday Sunday and Monday and Christmas Eve until 1 a.m. New Year's Eve until 2 a.m. The proposed designated premise supervisor, or DPS, John Meredith, has not yet been granted a personal licence by the local authority at the time that the report was produced. Under the Live Music Act 2012 as amended, an alcohol licensed premise can have live and or recorded music from 8 until 11 for up to 500 people without the need for these to be on a premises licence, and late night refreshment, which is the sale or supply of hot food and or hot drinks, is only applicable between Monday to Sunday, 11 until 5 a.m. One objection has been received from a responsible authority, which was West Mercia Police. This can be found at Appendix 2, but this has now been withdrawn due to the applicant and the applicant's agent agreeing on a set of conditions in line with all the licensing objectives. This can be found in the supplement published on the 13th of January 2023. 2 representations have been received from responsible authorities: trading standards, this can be found at Appendix 3, and environmental health, which can be found at Appendix 4. These conditions have been agreed by the applicants and therefore their representations have been withdrawn. 1 relevant representation has been received from a member of the public in line with the licensing objectives that the licensing authority have accepted as being relevant, which can be found at Appendix 5. And 1 representation was received from the member of the public, which the licensing authority has deemed not relevant due to being submitted anonymously. The Act states that you must make your representation in writing, including your name, address, and contact details. Any decision we make today may have an impact on the local community, and the environmental impact is this report is in relation to a premise licence under the Licensing Act 2003, and as such there are minimal environmental impacts for the council as the licensing authority. There are unlikely to be any financial implications for the council as the licensing authority at this time. And this report is in relation to a premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003, and as such there are minimal resource implications for the council as the licensing authority as well. There are a number of legal implications and equality duties set out in this report which the legal advisor can advise on. Under Schedule 5, Part 1 of the Licensing Act 2003, there is a right of an appeal. All appeals should be made to the Magistrates' Court and must be made within 21 days, beginning with the day on which the appellant was notified by the licensing authority of the decision being appealed against. There is little risk management associated with the decision at this time, as the legislation allows a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within a period of 21 days of being notified of this decision in writing. All responsible authorities and members of the public within Herefordshire have been consulted on this application. Appendices 1 to 5 can be found at the back of this report, and a supplement has been issued since the report has been published. Thank you, Chair. That's the end of the report.
Thank you, Sophie. Right. Regarding this application, it is recommended in accordance with Regulations 14.2 of the Licensing Act 2003, herein's Regulations 2005, the public be excluded from this part of the meeting on the grounds that involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in Schedule 12A, the Local Government Act of 1972. And it is considered the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Specifically, presentations from a member of the public on behalf of the applicants are likely to include information relating to an individual, information which is likely to reveal the identity of an individual, and information relating to action taken or to be taken in connection with the prevention, investigation, or prosecution of crime. Committee members, please confirm your consent to move into private session.
Move into private session, Chairman.
Yes. A moment, Mr. Chairman. Got that blue line, isn't it? We're live, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Licence Subcommittee. I'll now read the decision of the subcommittee. Okay. After hearing representations today and having regard to all the written and verbal evidence submitted to the subcommittee's decision is to approve the application applied for with the revised conditions which were published on the 13th of January. Reasons. The reasons for this is that the subcommittee has taken into full account written representations and information presented to the committee today and fully recognise the concerns raised and the reasons why the representations were made. However, the subcommittee considers the application with agreed conditions will promote the licensing objectives. I would like to clarify to members of the public that you can go to the licensing department at Herefordshire Council with any evidence-based concerns any time. That is our decision. Can I now ask for the live